Hi there. Welcome to the Graceland Wool Podcast, episode 2. I'm your host, Sarah, and basically, this is a knitting and fiber podcast, and it's filmed in Spokane, Washington, where I live and I work and I raise my family. And basically, this podcast is all about knitting. You can find me as Sarah Stevens 11 on Instagram, and you can find me as Sarah Stevens on Ravelry. You can also find me as gracelandwool.com, at gracelandwool.com, or as gracelandwool on Instagram or Ravelry. I also have a Ravelry group. Feel free to pop on over there and join in some of the threads. There's a little bit of chatter happening. I did put up a new Q&A thread, so I'd be happy to answer some questions on some podcast episodes later on down the line. So thank you to new viewers and hanging out and seeing what this podcast is all about. And thank you to returning viewers. I actually get to say that this time. Thank you to all of you, because there are so many podcasters out there that you could be hanging out with and watching that are phenomenal, and you have chosen to spend a little bit of your time with me. So I hope it's worth your while. Okay, so let's get on with the show, I guess. First of all, in my mug today, my other new fun mug from World Market, I am drinking my Good Earth tea. It's cold and rainy all weekend. We spent most of the weekend doing soccer, actually, all weekend doing soccer, and it has been cold and rainy and gross outside. So this has been my go-to drink for the entire weekend. And I don't know what I would do without it, truthfully. It's kind of my comfort. I don't know. So that's what's in my mug this evening. So I am filming rather late at night. I found that this is the most quiet time to film, so I can chat with you guys and hang out a little bit. The daytime just doesn't work for me. The mornings don't work for me, so this is the best. Unfortunately, that means that my lighting is not fantastic. The lighting is pretty okay. I do have a few lights going on around here, but I'll do my best to show everything to the camera as best as possible. But just know that because I'm using a lot of artificial light and it's kind of dark in this room, it may not show as true to color as it normally would. So anyways, on with the knitting, I guess. This week I have spent a little bit of time working on 2 projects. I spoke with you guys last week about how I really wanted to get that pair of regia socks off the needles so I could cast onto my spun right round. Specifically, I wanted to cast onto this pair of, or this skein of yarn from Spun Right Round. And I'm hoping to get these cast on next week. I think it's going to be doable, very doable. This is the Sugar Pop Fizz colorway from Spun Right Round. And I just love all of the pops of color. It is a very pale aqua blue background with pops of lime green, highlighter yellow, hot pink, some purples, blacks, some really awesome oranges in there. It kind of has a little bit of everything. So I can't wait to get these cast on. It's completely my jam for right now. Am in love with it. If you have not had the opportunity to check out Spun Right Round, stop what you're doing and pop on over to her Etsy shop. She has a website, spunrightround.com, but she also has an Etsy shop as well. She's been dyeing since 2009. That's her sweet little logo here. There we go. Really, really love her colorways. This is, like I said, the Sugar Pop Fizz colorway on her Superwash Sock 80/20. It is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards in each 100-gram skein. And this has been calling my name for a few weeks now. So this, I am closer to getting cast on. Super, super excited by the possibility of that happening pretty soon. So, and the only reason why I can cast that on pretty soon is because I'm almost to the point of finishing up the heel. I just started the heel flap on my Regia Arnie and Carlos socks. So I'm working on a pair of Regia socks, the Arnie and Carlos line. This is the, what is this? Summer Night colorway that I'm working on right now. Last week when I was talking with you guys, I showed you I had one sock completed, right here. Obviously, still no ends woven in. I knit this sock cuff down with a shorter cuff than I usually make and a rounded toe. I knit these on my 2.0 millimeter Knit Pro zines, which I'm also using to knit the second sock. I didn't want there to be any possibility that my gauge would change based on needle changes and things like that, because as you know, like each needle is just a little bit different, each pair anyways. But so that whole sock I knit out of one skein of the Regia Arnie and Carlos, and I had this much left over. There we go. This much left over. Really, really love the way that sock turned out. So immediately I decided I would go ahead and cast on to my second sock. And here's my ball of yarn that I've got going on here. They don't matchy match at all. I did not try and line up the stripes or anything like that. I'm just knitting a pair of socks. And once again, these are being knit cuff down with my Knitter's Pride Knit Pro zines. I spoke to you guys earlier about how I position my needles when I'm knitting the majority of the sock. If I'm using my DPNs, like I talked about last week, these guys bend really easily, but I space my sock out around 4 needles and I knit with the 5th until I come to the heel flap. At that point, when I start working the heel flap, I will turn those the back 2 needles into 1 needle, and I work with 3, space my heel flap on 1 needle, and then the front sock is spaced on the 2. And I'll knit the heel flap, and then after the heel flap and after I turn the heel turn and then pick up the stitches along the side, I go back to knitting with it spaced around 4 needles and knitting with the 5th. So before I show you this, I wanted to explain all of that. So right now I am working on my heel, and it always looks really funny as you get going. So there's the front of my sock. This is the back. I'm almost about halfway. I'm a little over halfway done with the heel flap. So once I can start turning the heel, then it's pretty much zoom zoom and I'll be done. And I'm pretty much guessing if I can just spend a little bit of time on these socks, just a few hours, then I can have this pair completely off my needles. In fact, my plan is the next time I podcast to have them not only off the needles, but my new pair of socks on the needles. So stay tuned for that. I'm housing this project in a different project bag than I was before. I have so many project bags that I thought that while I'm going to try and show probably about 2 projects each podcast, that's going to be my goal. Some of them will be repeated projects with progress on them. Some might be new. Some are going to be finished objects. I wanted to change out the bags that I'm using so you can get a good idea of all of the different amazing bag makers that are out there. I only have tapped into a small handful, truthfully, because there are just so many. So last week I showed you guys my pink Suburban Stitcher bag, her anniversary bag, and then I also showed you my Molly the Homespun House bag. And they had a pink theme running through it, and I chuckled when I pulled out bags earlier in the week to, you know, re-put my knitting in and everything, and I didn't really pay attention to it. But this week I have a blue theme running across my knitting as far as my knitting bags go, so that made me laugh just a little bit. So these pair of socks that I'm working on, I'm actually housing them in my really adorable Freckled Whimsy bag. It has these sweet, sweet bunny rabbits. I don't know if you can see them. And a piece of fuzz, apparently. There we go. Sweet bunny rabbits. And it has this really heavy-duty, durable canvas kind of bottom. The inside is, I don't know if you can see it, this really fun springtime floral print. I love Carrie's bags. I love the interfacing that she uses. This one's more of a quilted interfacing, which I absolutely adore. And she always has the little pull here. I love the bigger zippers in bags. These bigger zippers, I think they're fantastic. And she always has this little D hook that she has on the side, and it's great because it houses all of my progress keepers that I might choose to use. I've got a cloud and a snowflake and a mushroom right now, but I like that because I can clip them to my bag, and whenever I'm working on socks or any other project, if I need an instant progress keeper, then I can just clip it off my bag and use it. So this has kind of been a favorite of mine right now. Anyways, to keep my socks in. There's a ton of space. This is actually a bag that's big enough to put a shawl in. I don't know exactly what size this bag is, but it fits everything. It fits my entire pair of socks and then a ton more. There's just so much room in here. So much room. So I'm loving working on these and housing them in my sweet little bag. Okay, so as you guys all know, when you are working on projects and knitting away or crocheting away or spinning, I don't know, the wool pulls the oil from your hands and they can get pretty dry. And so I have to keep applying lotion like crazy. And I have a few favorites because they don't leave a film while you're knitting. And as I'm applying some right now, one of my favorites that I kind of keep in my bags on a regular basis is I love these teeny tiny, there we are. They almost look like little deodorant sticks, but they're lotion bars. This is from Martha of Tuft Woolens, and she has so many amazing products. I cannot get over her stuff. The smells are out of this world. I don't know if you can, there we go. tuftwoolens.com is where you can find her stuff. This is Royal Apothecary. Here's her little logo. There we are. Apicary. There we are. Love it, love it, love it. This one is a hand and body balm. It has a lot of lanolin in it, 0.35 ounces, works up to be about 10 grams, and it just smells amazing. Rub a small amount on hands or other dry areas to soften and smooth. Natural butters melt instantly on your skin, and a little goes a long way. And if that's not the truth, I don't know what is. I love keeping this in my knitting bags just to kind of relieve my hands in the winter. If you haven't checked Martha out, run, go check her out. She has some amazing stuff. I love her wool wash. I love her sock bars. In fact, I have one here. It's her sock soap that I haven't opened yet. And they come packaged just like this. She always has the cute little stuff. Once again, it has instructions on the back and her website. And it's just a sock soap bar, and you just kind of rub it with your hands together, and I put it in the water, and I just let my socks soak in there. And I love the way, I love how fragrant it is, but I love how it cleans my socks. I wear my socks around the house, and they get pretty dirty, so having a really great sock soap is really important to keep them clean. So yeah, that would be Martha from tuftwoolens.com. Okay, so aside from working on my socks, I told you guys last week that I really wanted to cast on to the the Party on My Needles shawl by Joji Locatelli, and I did. I got that cast on pretty much immediately. I got done podcasting last week, and the very next day I caked up the very first color, and I spent all day yesterday in the car. My husband drove while we drove to Ephrata and Moses Lake for soccer, and so I got a good 2 hours of knitting time on the way down there, because by the time we were coming back it was dark, but I got 2 hours of knitting time anyways. And so I got quite a bit done on my shawl. This is, there we are, my whiskers colorway. It's pretty subtle. I enjoy how sweet it is. I love it. I am knitting this shawl on my Hiya Sharps US 3.25 millimeter needles. There we go. I love how sharp the Hiya Sharps are. I'm not entirely sure there are very many needles that can beat the pointiness that these needles are. This is my interchangeable set, so I just have, these aren't fixed, I just have a pair of, I think these are my 32-inch cables. I'm sure I'm going to have to switch to a bigger cable at some point. And in the time being, I don't know if you can, I don't know what happened. I don't even know if you can catch it on camera. Nope, I'm not going to be able to catch it. There got a, nope, I can't do it. There's like a teeny tiny little bite mark. I think I left this out on the counter just long enough for my kitty cat to gnaw away, or attempt to gnaw on my cord. And the unfortunate part about that is that just that tiny little bit, little indent that's in my cord, every time I run my knitting down it, it gets caught, and it's driving me crazy. That's okay. I'm going to have to switch to a new cable pretty soon anyways, so not a big deal. But I'm loving this pattern. It's so fun. It's very potato chippy. I'm getting a kick out of knitting it. I'm using my little progress keeper that came with that little bunny bag from Carrie, and it's just well, shoot, Sarah. Teeny tiny little Easter bunny rabbit. Very sweet. It's nowhere near Easter time, but bunnies are cute. You don't have to just knit and use project bags when it's Easter time for bunnies. They're cute all the time. So that's kind of where I stopped off. I got quite a bit of knitting done, so I figure I'm going to have this little bunny on here, and we'll see how much progress I make between now and next week. Hopefully it's quite a bit of progress, but you never know how the week is going to go. I'm going to be doing the body of the shawl in that whiskers colorway on my 80/20 blend, and then the feather and fan section is going to be on my graphite colorway. I love that. And then I can't wait because I'm actually going to bind it off with this really awesome green. It's way brighter. Not way brighter, but it is brighter in person. Green Pastures color. And that's going to be the bind off on the bottom, so I can't wait because I think it's going to be really fun to have two super neutral colors and then a little bit brighter bound up to bind it off for that loopy section that's on the bottom. It is a pay-for pattern, and if you are needing or in need of a really fun garter stitch shawl with a little bit of detail at the bottom, this one's awesome. It's really fun. I completely understand why Chelsea got hers done so fast because it's kind of all I want to knit on. But I'm housing that project in my Mrs. Brown's bag. I love this bag. Love it, love it, love it. It's super, super fun. I think this is my favorite picture. Where did it go? Gosh, the little girl riding on the Vesper right here. It's awesome. So this is great. It has her cute little tassel that she always does. It has the heavier duty canvas at the bottom in the blue, and the inside is just this lovely blue and white print. So super, super in love with this bag. Jody makes amazing bags. Actually, she is, Jody and Tracy are the two sisters from the Grocery Girls podcast. If you haven't had a chance to check them out, you should completely do so. You are going to truly enjoy watching them. They're kicking the pants. So pop on over and go check them out. Make sure you subscribe to their channel so you can get notifications of all of their new episodes that come up, because they make my week. I itch for them to pop up their new episode. I have a few podcasters that I just really enjoy watching, and they're one of them. So all right. So that is the extent of my knitting for this week. It's not a lot. It's not a huge amount since last time, but while doing all of the things, I figure I'm going to be pretty lucky if I can get all of the things done all of the time. So that is the extent of it, and that's my planning. I really hope that I can get a chance to get those socks cast on for next week. I'm itching to knit a pair of socks out of that colorway, that Sugar Pop Fizz. I think it's going to be awesome. As for anything else, so we have a couple knit-alongs going. Sorry, we have the October Socks Knit Along, and that thread is open in the Ravelry group. So pop on over there, check it out, post a picture of your finished socks. You could have started them years ago. So long as you finish them in October, they count. It does not have to be out of a Graceland wool yarn. It can be out of any yarn that you want, because this is mostly for the podcast. Excuse me. We have a second knit along going on, and that is the hat along, or on your head anyways. And that one is going to be going on through November. It is just so long as you knit a hat. Find a fun pattern. If you have one that you started working on last year and you just never got finished and it's hanging out in the bottom of your whips pile, grab it, pick it up, cast it back on, I guess, and work through it, because that would count for a prize potentially. It works for that drawing. And then the last one is the round your neck along, or the shawl along. If you want to participate in that, it goes for 3 months. It will go until the end of December. It is a chance for you to knit on a shawl or a scarf or a cowl, so long as it's completed by the end of December. I figure that gives everybody enough time to work on something and actually be able to finish. I know for me, as busy as things seem to get, getting a shawl completed in a month is unmanageable for me, but 3 months is about the time that it takes me to get it done, or a good substantial amount of time anyways. So feel free to pop on over there, join in those threads. I think there's some FO threads that I posted, but I think I did post a chatter thread too. So go chatter away. I also added, like I talked about before, a question and answers thread. I would love to answer some of your questions. I've been getting a lot of questions lately via private message, and if you have a fiber related question or a knitting question or anything like that, I will do my best to answer that. But I would love to do it on the podcast. And so if you have any of those questions, go ahead and post those down there in the question and answer thread. I think that's everything though, you guys. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast today. If you get the opportunity to check out some of those the podcasts or the other shops that I mentioned, I would love to know about it. I'd love to hear if you enjoy their stuff as much as me. I would also love it if you enjoyed this podcast to subscribe, if you wouldn't mind, just hitting the like button or subscribing. It's the best way for you to be notified if one of my next episodes comes up and is available. I'm not entirely sure how regular I will be able to podcast. I'm hoping it to be regularly, but in the off chance that it's not, this is a great way for you to get notified when it does. And every time that you like or subscribe to a podcast that you're watching, it helps other people find that same podcast as well that might have some of the same interests as you. I was asked briefly if I was going to be hosting or posting this podcast on iTunes, and right now at the moment I'm not contemplating posting on iTunes. I think I'm going to just keep it to YouTube for right now, and maybe things will change in the future, but for right now it's really nice to only have to upload to one platform. That's the truth. So anyways, until, I feel like I'm just blabbering at the moment. So until next time, I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your week. I hope that you are enjoying your knitting and having a good time. I would love to hear about the things that you guys are working on or are enjoying right now. As far as a new update, that is in the works to be coming out really soon. I can't wait to show you what I've been working on. It's been a lot of fun working on the fall/winter collection to go up. So, yeah, until next time, I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will chat again with you soon. Happy knitting.